everyone, welcome to Simplilearn. Today we will learn SQL basics. SQL is the spine of data analytics, whether you are trying to store decades old of data or retrieve a row from racks of relational databases capable to store petabytes of data. SQL is always your best tool. So in today's session, we will learn the basics of SQL through a small use case. So here is the context. Imagine you're a SQL developer, and as a SQL developer, you face a critical issue during the project. Your client runs a huge restaurant and now is eager to expand his franchise. He has a couple of questions, and these are real business questions through which he can understand the performance insights, like the best selling products and increasing their inventory, offering memberships and discounts to frequent customers, and much more. This would automatically help the client to reach greater heights in business. So that's it. If these are the type of videos you'd like to watch, then hit that like and subscribe buttons and the bell icons to get notified. Just for a quick info, if you want to upskill yourself to master data science and data analytics skills and land your dream job or grow in your career, then you must explore Simplilearn's cohort of various data science and business analytics programs like Caltech, Purdue, IIT Kanpur, and many more. Through our courses, you will gain knowledge and work-ready expertise in skills like advanced Excel, Python, machine learning, data visualization, generative AI, and over a dozen others. That's no all. You also get the opportunity to work on multiple projects and learn from industry experts working in top-tier product companies and academics from top universities. After completing these courses, thousands of learners have transitioned into data science or data analytics role as a fresher or moved on to a higher paying job and profile. If you are passionate about making your career in this field, then make sure to check out the link in the pinned comment and description box below to find a data science and data analytics program that fits your experience and areas of interest. Now, without further delay, let's get started with SQL basics. Now, let's switch to the MySQL Workbench. Now we are on MySQL Workbench. Now we've already created a database. So let's start with use database name, which is SLP. Use the Control Enter shortcut to access your database. Just in case if you haven't created your database, just go to the schemas section, right click, it should look something like this. Here you can create a new schema. Create schema, and you can name the schema and proceed. Let's say sample, and then select apply, and here you can check some other priorities or parameters. Let's say if you want to lock it, you can, but now let's proceed with the basic default one. Apply, and a new schema has been successfully created. Now you can close this one, and let's say you don't want a schema, then you can go to the schemas here, and let's say I don't want car dealerships, you can just delete the schema by pressing drop schema. Now that we have a brief understanding of how schema works, now let's proceed with creating data tables and loading data into it. So there are multiple ways. Let's say you want to create by manually typing in the code. You can do that. Let's proceed with that one first. Now our tables are a little bit too long. We'll be using 5 different tables here. So to create any table, basic priorities are you need to use the keywords create and table, and after that the customized name for your table, and followed by that the column names that you want to have in your data table along with their data type. So user ID will be integer data type, and create date will be data type, and product ID will be int. Similarly, to insert the data, you need to use the insert keyword and into keyword. Now you need to provide the specific table that you have created here. So you have created sales table. So you have already added the sales table name here and the columns user ID, created date, and product date, which are over here. And next, the values. You need to enclose the entries in parentheses. So integer will not have any specific single quotes or double quotes. But if you are adding any data which is character based or date based, time based, then you need to encode that within single quotes. And after that, the product ID. Now we will have a separate table for product as well. Remember, by the end of all your entries, provide a semicolon which indicates that is the end of all the entries for your data table. Similarly, we have also provided a semicolon here, which is telling SQL Workbench that it is the end of creation of a data table. And these entries or these column names are enclosed within parentheses. Now here we have a product table with similar entries or columns and also similar entries following the priority or parameters, which will include insert into and values keywords and also the column names which you created and so on. So these will be our data tables. Now let's quickly run all these commands and create the data table. There you go. The table has been successfully created and the entries are also inserted. There's a small mistake at row 1. If you go to row 1, let's check what might be the issue. So the problem is with the date value. So SQL Workbench follows the date value, which is year, month, and date. So here, while I was writing the dates, I entered date, month, and year. So we just need to correct it. So now that I have corrected, let's try to run it once again and see if it works or not. There you go, it works. Now let's proceed with creating the product table. It's created, and also the product menu. Followed by that, we have user data. And when it comes to users data, we have two different users data. So one is regular users, so including all the users from day one. So out of all the users, a couple of users, if let's say if we have about 10 users, a couple of 5 or 6 users preferred to take golden membership, or let's say in our perspective, the customer or the owner identified these customers to be most valued customers, or they are the ones which frequently visit the restaurant and order good bills and etc., right? So he kind of sells them premium golden users sign up. So here it is. So they buy the golden users sign up. So now let's proceed with that. And here you can see I've got the data corrected for this one as well. So we have created the table users. Now let's enter the data for users. There you go. The data has been entered to users. And now we will also create users names data table, which will have the details of users and enter the details. And lastly, a few of those users who chose to buy the golden users sign up or being offered by the client or the restaurant owner, right? Enter. And last table, the entries for these data table. Now these were the data tables. Now let's also validate or fetch the data. So we have about 5 data tables, right? So let's mention them here. 1, 2, the rest. So these are the data tables. For fetching the data, you need to use the select command and star for selecting all the columns. But let's say if you had a specific column to extract, then you can mention that specific column name from data table, right? Now I want all the data columns. So select star from table name and semicolon to make sure that the SQL Workbench understands that is the end of your command. Let me provide the same command for all the tables. There you go. Let us run. So these are the entries. Similarly, next one, these are the entries. There you go. Fourth table. And lastly, the fifth table. Now, you understood how long it is. But let's say you already have all these data tables existing as a SQL, or let's not consider SQL database. Let's say we have this information in Excel table. Then what you can do is you can just directly extract that data, right? So what you can do is just recently we created a sample database, right? Let's try here itself. So we have, let's say we'll go with car dealership data as well. And here you have the tables. Just right click and here you got the option import data wizard, table data import wizard. And now you need to just provide the location of the data. So I'll have some Excel sheets somewhere. Let's go with Excel datasets. And I have some customer data here and I'll open it. And now you go to next and next. There you go. It will give you the information. It will let you decide the data type as well. So I'm currently okay with all the data types. For row ID, I'll go with int, order ID, text, order date. If you want to change, you can go into the data table options and provide date time, right? So, we also have ship date. You go with the date time option for this as well. Order date and ship date, ship mode, and so on. Check all the other columns. There should be a delivery date as well. I think we already made that. And it also assumed that it'll go with double for price, discount, and all other options where you might have decimal inclusions, right? So you can either go with float or double is also good. There you go. Now I just need to check on next, import data table. Okay, you need to press on next. It'll start preparing import and imported file. Click on next again and finish. Now if you click on tables, you can see the customer data table is readily available here. All the columns, if you press on column, let me expand this a little. So all the columns you're looking for, order date, state, region, everything, it is readily available for you, right? So these are the easier ways to either create the data or import the data for your SQL Workbench. Now, let's proceed with solving the questions. Let me change the orientation. Let us go with this one. There you go. And let us also expand or increase the font size for the better visibility of code. Now, let's proceed with all the questions. We have about 15 to 20 questions. And here you can see I've used this particular symbol to make sure that SQL Workbench understands that this is a comment. Right? You can write comments in both the ways. You can choose to just double hyphen or slash star and another star and slash. This will make it a comment. Now let's proceed with answering the questions. What is the total sales revenue generated by each product? Now the question was, what is the total sales revenue generated by each product? Now he wants to identify the total number of products available in his inventory, and he wants to sum up the total number of orders received and sum the price according to the orders received. Let's say he have about 5 items in the menu and each item got about 2 to 3 orders and into the price, and he wants to know the profit. So for that, we might have to join two different tables. So the product details are in the product table and the sales details or the price details are available in the sales table. Now we will select product name. So I've recognized product table as P here. So what this will do is it will act as an alias to product table name, and it is specifying SQL to understand to avoid ambiguity and go to the product name which is available only in the product table. And here we are using the summation operation as the aggregate operation to sum the total price, and it has been aliased as total sales revenue. So you can alias the resultant column name using the keyword as, and you can give a customized name. In our case, I gave it total sales revenue from sales data table, and I've aliased it as simple letter S. And coming into join operations, we are performing a simple join operation here to product table and the sales table based on the common column between both the tables, which is the product ID, and we are grouping by product name. Now let's run this and see the output. There you go. And in case if you wanted to order it by increasing order, right, highest one on the top, then you can also use order by product name, not product name, sum of price, or you can use the alias name as well. Rerun it. So by default it will take ascending order, so we need to provide descending. Now you have these items which were on the highest sale. So these are the products which gave him the highest number of orders and highest profit. So he needs to focus on improving inventory for these products. Now let's switch to question number 2, which is, which 3 products have the highest sales revenue? In talks, we already solved this question. So order by, what you can do is, he's just asking about the 3 products, right? So we can give him the result of only 3 products. For that, you just have to paste the same code, enter, limit 3. Now what this will do is it will yield in result with only 3 rows. So you'll get only these three entries as a result. There you go. So he needs to focus on these products. So how many users have signed up for the service and has taken the gold membership? Now let's try to solve this one step at a time. So there are two ways to do this. Basically, you can just count the number of user entries from the golden users sign up table, or the other way around. Now he wants to understand out of how many out of the total number of customers, maybe around 10 to 15, he wants to know the ones which have taken the subscription. So let's go with the second approach, where we'll try to combine both users table as well as golden users table, and we will specifically match the user IDs which are in both golden users table and users table. Basically, let's say there are two approaches. You enter the restaurant today, you like the food, and you like to take up, you like to become a user of that customer, but you straight away go to the golden user membership. Some rich people do that, right? And the other way is you might be just a common user, then you just like the food over and over, and then you turn out to like it a lot that you prefer becoming a golden member, right? So there are two types of approaches. Now let's count both of them and try to solve it. So what you will do is, we don't want let's say if you want to count the user ID from golden user sign up, there might be entries where user ID 1, which is a golden user ID, might have appeared multiple times in a row. So you don't want to count that multiple times. You just want to count the distinct ones. So once if you counted the number 1 or user ID 1, you'll leave it if it is repeated. So we will be using the distinct keyword here and count aggregate function, and you will alias the name of the column as gold members from golden user sign up, and you will join users table and you will alias users table with an alphabet U on golden users ID is equals to users ID. Now let's run this command. There you go. And the count tells us 5 entries are there in the golden members. Now let's proceed with the next question, which says what is the revenue generated from gold users. Now you need to kind of join tables here with golden users data table as well as sales and users. So you have 3 tables basically. So you need to identify golden users, identify their user IDs, and you need to match every order which was placed by golden user IDs, and also the product. Yeah, you also need to join the product as well. So product is the table where you have the details of the product which are being ordered by the customers, and you need to also check the price which is available in the sales table. You need to join all these 3 tables and sum up all the pricings for the orders they placed and give the total number of revenue they generated. Now let's deal with this. We have the analogy in our mind. Now let's write the code. So here I have selected the price as well as we are performing some joins with golden users, product, etc. Right? So using the aggregation function, which is sum, to calculate the total pricings these particular users prepared or bought from the restaurant, and we are aliasing this particular column as gold users revenue from sales table. Now we are performing a simple join on golden users sign up as well as users table, and also the product table which has the product details. Now let's run this particular command. So overall, the golden card or golden sign up customers gave about $4,690 of revenue to this particular restaurant. Now proceeding with the 5th question, what is the total revenue generated from gold users? I think the question is repeated here, not to worry. Let's proceed with the next question, which says which users have been a gold user for how much of time? Now this particular question is a little bit tricky. So he's asking about the users which were actually regular users before, and on timely basis down the line they converted into gold users. So how much of time, right? Which users have been a gold user for how much of time? So you need to evaluate the users first and then identify on what date they were registered, and what date they became a golden user, and so far how much time they have spent being a gold user, right? So let's start to write the query for this. So there you go. We're selecting the user ID column for golden users table. So we have aliased it with G alphabet, as well as we're using current date function and DateDef function. So we are trying to subtract the sign up date. If you check the data table of golden users, they have the user ID as well as the sign up date. So we are subtracting the sign up date with current date, and for that we're using the DateDef function. And we are aliasing it as days as gold user from golden user sign up. Now let's quickly run this query. There you go. So I think this data is a little bit older, maybe around 2014 or 2015. So it's been like years. So it calculated the number of days. So these are the ones. So maybe 2014 or 2013 as well. So the 2014, 2013. So those many number of days they've been a golden customer. So they are kind of really loyal customers for this particular restaurant. Now, what is the most popular product among all golden users? Now, this particular question is again a little bit drilled down. So so we have found 3 top selling products, right? So now he wants to filter out the golden users only. He wants to know each and every golden user, what is the product they have ordered amongst all the orders from golden users alone, which is the highest selling product. So he wants to take care, or I mean to say, take special care of the golden members. So let's try to investigate that. So there you go. We wanted the product name as the first column. Second, the product ID, and we also want the product name. So the product name is present in product details, and user, the golden users, the details of golden users is present in golden users table. And we also want the product name, which is only available in the product data table. So to map it, you need to prepare a join in between 3 different tables. And after that, you need to group by product name and order by purchase count, right? So, and we also need only one row of it. So we're limiting to the one resultant row. Let's run this, and there you go. So in premium customers, Shahi Paneer is most ordered and the purchase count is 7. Now proceeding ahead, which is the 8th question for today. What is the total sales revenue generated in each year? So he wants to know year on year growth of this particular industry or restaurant. Let's run or write a query for that and run it later. So for this, we're using the DateTime function again. Now we have a column which is created date, like the customer creation date. So we are taking it and we are splitting it in terms of years using the DateTime function, and we are aliasing it as year, right? And apart from that, here we have sum of prices, total sales revenue from sales, join product and product ID, and group by year using the created date, right? Now let's run this command. There you go. So in the year 2017, we have 1940, 2019, and so on. You can also try to sort these numbers in a descending order, which is I think already kind of done. No, it's not done. So you can also order this by the year, or so this can be done using this particular column here. You can order by year. So let's take that as a homework for you. And so far so good. So this way you can identify what is the sales growth or revenue generated on yearly basis. Now we will be proceeding with the 9th question, which was the same which we discussed before. We just wanted to order it in terms of years, right? So just kind of you got the homework right here itself, order by year, and maybe you can also provide the SC in the descending order. Now let's run this command. There you go. So in the descending order, 2020, I think the data is about 4 to 5 years old. So here we have it, 2020, 2019, 18, and so on. Now the next question. So the next question is the 10th question. What is the average gold sign up compared to just sign up for users? The thing is, what you need to do is you need to check the intervals. The interval between the current date as well as the last sign up dates, or the what's the interval between, let's say today one user signed up just for normal sign up, and after 10 days another sign up comes in. So basically he wants to know the frequency of average frequency of sign up and compare it to average signups of gold signups. So here we will be using average aggregate function alongside with the date function, which is a DateTime function. So here you are just giving the difference between sign up dates and gold sign up dates. So the users, you'll be joining the table with the users, and you will be finding out the average date difference between the gold signups and the normal signups. Run this query and see the output. So before we run, so you can see there are multiple select statements here. So it's like a subquery. So what we are doing is we are trying to select already filtered columns in this particular part, and we are aliasing this as average gold sign up time. So whatever the extracted part of this query is aliased as average gold sign up time, and inside that you also see another subquery which selects the date difference between the regular sign up time, and it is all combined and encapsulated inside the external select statement. So this is a brief introduction to subqueries in SQL. So now let's execute this. So there you go. For the average gold sign up, the average days is 1021, and the average normal signups is like 3071. Because we are comparing this to the current year, current date, and the data is about 4 to 5 years old, we can see a huge gap or interval between the signups. But say we are in the same 2020, or say the restaurant is still running current date, then it might be a little, the frequency could have been reduced a little. The number here, the frequency seems to be a large number, and you might almost think there are no signups happening these days, but it's not like that. If ever we had the latest data, let's say we add the new data into the database, then we will have new updates here as well. So I think we got this sample data from the client. So he just wants the sample codes, and whenever he updates the data, I think he will have a complete overview of what he's looking at. Now, the next question, which is question number 11. So, how many gold member users have ordered how many number of times? So, let's imagine today someone from the users group decided to upgrade to gold member, and now the client wants to know how many number of orders that person has placed from today, or let's say a week before somebody got upgraded to gold member. Since that day to the current date, how many number of orders did that person have ordered? So in the previous questions, we found it like we have about 5 gold members in the restaurant. So he wants to know how many number of orders did gold members pay. Now let's write the query for that. I think we might have to club sales data, and we might have to club with gold users data and the product data as well. Now, maybe product we will see down the line. I think sales and the gold users should do. Let's try to write the query. So the query seems a little easier. You just need to make sure you consider the user ID column and count the number of product, or product ID, the number of products he ordered as order counted from sales. So we have a product ID column in sales, and you can just, or in place of product ID, you can just place a star. You basically have to count the number of rows which are belonging by the gold users, and then group by the golden user ID, right? So let's run this and see the output. There you go. And in case you wanted to find out the best or the highest orders candidate, then you can give it by this particular one, or you can just copy the alias and paste it here, and descending DESC, find out order user ID 1, the guy from the premium got so many orders. This is the highest number, right? So let's check here. There you go. Now let's move ahead with the 12th question. What is the total amount each customer spend on online food delivery? So now I think we have about 10 users, 10 customers, and now the client wants to know what is the total amount they spent on his restaurant from day one. So this is quite simple. Let's try to answer this query. So basically we have user ID and some sales data in sales table. But to get the exact price of each product, we might have to link up with the product table as well. So we want to know how much amount they spent, right? They in the sense the customers. So we want to know customer number one paid how many number of dollars, customer two spent how many number of dollars. So we also have added the user ID column here. And the next column would be the total price they paid till date. So we will be using a sum aggregate function on price, which we will be getting from the product table. So we have placed a join there, and we will also group by user ID. And I think we can also order by so that we can find out the most loyal customer. And we will write it down as order by. And now let's run the query. There you go. So the person, okay, let me do it as DESC and run this again. So the person user ID 1 has paid the highest total amount. So he paid highest bills, $1,350. There you go. Now proceeding ahead, we have the 13th question. What is the frequency of customers visits to online platform? So it is a little similar to this particular one that we preferred or solved here using time date functions in the question number 10. Now it could be a little similar here. Let's try to solve this question. To find out the frequency of customers to online platform. And he did not mention if we are focusing on normal users or if we are focusing on golden card users, right? So we will be dealing with the sales table as well as the customers table. So you can see we have two different customers table. One is users and another is golden users. So far, after executing so many queries, we found out that the group of people who are in normal users are the ones who prefer to upgrade to golden users, right? So I think if we just match up with users table, we will be good enough. So we will join along users table as well as sales table, and we will find out what's the frequency of online orders using the time date functions. Let's proceed with that. So there we have it. We will select the user ID column and we will count the order created date, and it will be renamed as visit frequency from sales data table. So I think we don't have to go through the customer specific data. I think we will be happy with the sales data alone. So now let's group it by user ID and run the query to see the output. So on a regular basis, the frequency of customer ID 1 is 7 and remaining all is so along. 3 is 6, 2 is 3, 4 is 2, 5 is 2, and so on. Now let's proceed with the next question. What is the first order purchased by each customer? Again, it is kind of date and time function related. So when they got registered, the day they got registered and after the registration, what was the first product they ordered from the restaurant? So this is what we have to find out here. Now let's proceed with answering the query. So here we go. So we will be selecting the user ID column. Along with that, we will be selecting the created date, the date when the registration or the customer was created, signed up. So that is the column we are selecting. And we will be using an aggregate function where the date is minimum. And that day will be the first order date from the product name. And from sales, yes, right? So we will be joining with product table to identify the product name. If you check the sales data, you just have the product ID there, not the product name. For that reason, we will also join with product data so that we can match the product ID from sales table with the product ID from product table. And where they match, we will check the created date should be equals to the minimum of the date when they got registered from sales data table, and user ID is equals to sales user ID. Group by sales user ID plus product name. Now let's run this query. Control enter, and there you go. So the first order date for user 1 was 2016 May 20th, and he ordered Shahi Paneer, and so on for all the individual customers. Right, now let's proceed with the 15th question. What is the most purchased item on the menu, and how many times was it purchased by all customers? So it might be a little ambiguous. So you might have vegetarian customers as well as non-vegetarian customers. So let's say there is a high frequency of non-veg item, then a certain customer might not have bought it. The vegetarian customer might not have bought it. So there are multiple ambiguous situations here, but still we'll try to answer that. So we will be basically counting the total count of orders made, product name, and sorted by total number of orders they placed. Now let's try to execute this query, and there you go. So we have identified the most sold item and how many times that each customer have bought it. So here we have limited it by 1. If you eliminate it, then let's say we will get all the details. So all the details of all the items which were ordered by every customer. So I think Shahi Paneer was also ordered by some non-vegetarian customers, and this is equally the highest number of or highly found out recipe in this particular restaurant. So this was highly sold to all the customers. They preferred this one. Now proceeding ahead, which item is the most popular for each customer? So everybody has their own special choices. So somebody might have ordered maximum number of Shahi Paneer, somebody might have ordered maximum number of gulab jamuns, alright? So we will find out on an individual customer basis that which was their favorite or most popular dish or recipe. Now let's proceed with writing a query for this one. So basically we will select the product name first. We'll select the product name column, and we will count the total number of purchases of each and every item on the product menu, and then we will map it to each and every user, right? We will find out the count of all the products ordered by every person, and then select the maximum orders. Let's say user 1 comes to the restaurant, he orders gulab jamun for 10 times, Shahi Paneer for 20 times, and some other recipe for about 15 times. Now, out of all these, gulab jamun, which was ordered 20 times, will be selected. So that's our approach, which is here spaced inside a subquery, and this is named as a subquery. And then we will find out with the condition where subquery.userid is equals to sales.userid. Now let's execute this, and there you go. So user 1 had his favorite, which is our Shahi Paneer, and Dal Makhani for user 3, user 2, which is butter chicken. Now instead of user IDs, you can also make some modifications to this particular query and identify user name as well, right? Now let's proceed with, maybe you can take it as a homework and let us know in the comments if you were successful to extract user name as well. You can just add a user name column here, and along with the user ID, you'll get the username as well. Now let's proceed with our next question, which is 17th question. Which item was purchased first by the customer after they became a member? Brilliant. So there are more instances where you just visit a restaurant and then order food, eat, and come out. If and only if you preferred, like the taste, that's when you try to become a member, right? So before they actually became a member, just visited the restaurant and just ordered something. So they want to know which was that specific item. So the client here wants to know which is that specific item which made them to become a complete, lifetime member to that particular restaurant. So make sure that he wants to make sure that that particular item will stay on the menu for long durations so that he can attract more customers. That's the analogy behind this particular question. Now let's try to answer that. So there you go. We will pull out the order ID, customer user ID, and product name, and we will make sure that the created date is minimum, which is the first order. This approach is similar to the previous one, and Even we are calculating the gold user sign up as well and the product name, and we will just try to extract the result out of it. Now let's try to run this. Shortcut key, which is Control Enter. There you go. So user ID 3, before they became a customer, ordered dal makhani on the specific date, whether they became a customer or, on the date he ordered this one, and it made him like the restaurant, and then he became a member, right? So this was the information which the client wanted to know. Proceeding ahead, we have which item was purchased before the customer became a member. I think which is a little relevant to the previous question. Maybe it is a repeated question. Or let's identify which item was purchased before the customer became a member. Yeah, this is similar to the previous one. Now proceeding ahead, we can just eliminate this question as repeated. And proceeding ahead, we have the 19th question, which is about what is the total orders and amount spent for each member before they became a member. Okay, this is a little similar to the previous question, but here they want to know what is the total number of orders they placed as well as the total amount they spent before they became the customer. So we will have to use the same time and date functions and use the aggregate function minimum, where the membership was created along with adding up 2 more columns. So those 2 more columns will be the total orders, count of orders, and sum of price. Now let's proceed with answering this question. So we just copy pasted the same query. All we did is adding 2 more columns, which is counting the total orders and summing up the price they paid. Now let's run this query. Control Enter, and there you go. So you can also order it by the total amount spent, which is I think we already did. So here you have the user ID, total number of orders placed, and the amount. So user ID 1 seriously like the restaurant here. Now proceeding ahead with the last question for today's session. Rank all the transactions for each customer whenever they are an XYZ gold member for every non-gold member transaction mark as any. I think it should be NA. Okay. So he wants to rank all the transactions only of the gold members, and every time a non-gold member is involved in the table, in that particular row, we need to just add it as no, not applicable, something like that. So NA. So let's try and solve this. I think it might take a little effort to identify the solution for this. Let's try it out anyways. So this calls for a conditional statement, right? Maybe like in programming terms, like a switch statement. So whenever we find out an ID, user ID, which is not from golden sign up table, then in that place you can just mention it as in the transaction call, you can just mention it as NA. If user ID matches or if user ID is equals to or matches with the golden user sign up table, please yes or the transaction details. If not, just type down the text in single quotes as NA. Let's try it out. There you go. Now let's run this query, and there you go. So for customer 1 and a couple of others, we have just termed it as NA. And after he became a gold member, I think we have a transaction here. So yeah, there is a possibility that the customer would have been a normal customer before and he turned out into a gold user. And if ever he had ordered something, then we have his order transactions here. Transaction rank. So in terms of transaction ranks, as the ones we got results before, user 1, he was a normal customer before, but he turned out to be a golden customer, and he was the one with the highest rank and highest number of orders. So there you go, right? And if you wanted to extract this table, you can just copy row, or you can download the data table. You can export this particular data table and then add a filter to it and filter out all the NA values, and you'll get the golden customers and their ranks. And so far so good. We have answered all the possible questions that we received, and we will be also saving this workbook as a Google document, and it will be accessible for all the learners. And if you want in-depth learning experiences on all the SQL fundamentals like CTEs, join statements, how to load data from different data sources onto a SQL Workbench, and case, etc., then we will have those tutorials attached as well. And we have a complete playlist on SQL tutorials. And apart from that, this calls for an end of this session. If you have any queries regarding any of the topics covered in this session, or if you require the resources that we used in this session, like the dataset or the queries, document, and PPT, then please feel free to let us know in the comment section below, and our team of experts will be happy to assist you as early as possible. And until next time, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more from Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.